Good morning. I'd like to welcome those in the chamber and listening online to the December 1st, 2020 Weber County Board of Commissioners. We welcome you here. I'm Commissioner Gage Frohr. I'll be chairing. To my left, Commissioner Scott Jenkins. To my right, Commissioner Jim Harvey. We're going to start today with a Pledge of Allegiance given by Sean Wilkinson, an invocation by Cassie Bybee. I'll give the thought of the day. We'll go to that point.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this time as community members and friends at this commission meeting, and we ask thee to bless and be with us as decisions are made here in this meeting, that we might be able to make wise decisions and decisions that will better this community, which we are so grateful to be a part of and live in. We're thankful for the many blessings that has been bestowed upon us. We ask thy blessings to be with those that are less fortunate and those that might find themselves battling sickness and this pandemic at this time, and we ask you to please bless and be with them. We pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. So, commissioners, I think it was my grandfather that told me when life hands you lemons, just make it into lemonade. And my thoughts go to this last 11 months or whatever we've been in this pandemic. Seems like a lot longer than that period of time, but what I think that we should reflect on is not necessarily the hardships and what we've been through, because we know there's been plenty, but what can we learn and what have we learned from this last period of time, and the changes that will be positive in our lives and are positive now and can be positive in the future. So I look at a couple of different areas. I look at our business environment and what we've been able to change with our Zoom meetings, dealing with travel, maybe making it a little easier in some cases for people to communicate without traveling, which is a positive. It's going to have a huge impact on our the way that we do business in the future. In a lot of ways, commissioners, I think that's positive. We just take the good and capitalize on that. I look at our education system. I just got off the phone with Superintendent Stevens, and the amount of training, the internet training, the computer training that our students are getting online is something that they'll be a benefit to these students for the rest of their lives, that probably wouldn't be immersed into this type of technology without where we are today. Again, looking at the positive side. I look at our outdoor environment that we're very proud of here in Weber County, that people on the mountain and the trails, we have not seen use of our trail system and some of our outdoor facilities like we have in the past. So there's a number of people, for health reasons, have been out and enjoyed our outdoor. Again, even though that's concerning to some of us because it's a little more crowded than it used to be, in general, I think that's a positive thing to see people out enjoying our opportunities for recreation we have here in Weber County. And lastly, we just got through Thanksgiving, and a lot of us had smaller gatherings in a family setting than we've had in the past. I think this is, again, positive, as we've had time to sit down with a smaller group, our closer family members, and maybe spend more one-on-one time with our family and let them know how much we appreciate the love that we have for them, that sometimes doesn't happen in larger groups. So I think that again, is a positive. If we look at this in the right light and look to make lemonade out of this, I think there's plenty out there that we can be thankful for and look forward to, as this has changed our environment in a lot of different ways. Not that we don't want to be through it, because we do, but what can we take from this pandemic, take it forward, and be better public servants, be better parents, be better students, just be better as a community than we found it back in March. So that's my thoughts, Commissioners.
Good.
Thank you. Let's move now to public comments. And we'll start with anybody in the chamber that would like to come forward. Not seeing anybody. Anybody on Zoom?
No comments.
No comments? Okay, we're going to move to our consent items, and there are no warrants today, just in case that came up, because of a glitch in our Munis system, as I understand it. So we'll be discussing those warrants a week from today. Let's start with our consent items. F1, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $72,074.98. Request for approval of contracts by and between the following for protection of 5 Carols for Christmas: Kaylee Nielsen, Andre Thorne, Samantha Worston, Eric Hawkins, Justin Lee, Emily Woods, Carlyn Johnson, Jordan Tracy, Marilyn Montgomery, Melissa Toomer, and Caleb Saunders. So as far as I see, that's what our consent item is. Commissioners, any questions, comments before we go to Ricky? Ricky, do you want to go over that full $72,000?
You bet. So we issued 7 purchase orders for $72,000. 34% of that amount, or $24,000, is for the jail and will go towards purchasing nitrile gloves. 28%, or $20,000, is for the transfer station, and that will go primarily to purchase a new scale. We had 2 items at 17%, or $12,000. One was for our Homeland Security services, and that was will go towards purchasing conferencing equipment to establish to allow for virtual meetings. And then the last is for the weeds department to purchase a ditch bank mower.
Thank you for that. Questions? Comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the consent items as listed in our agenda under item F, like Foxtrot 1 and 2.
Second. Thank you. We have a second from Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to action items. Let's go to action item G1. This would be a presentation and request for approval of Visit Ogden's 2021 marketing plan. Ms. Sarah Tolliver, welcome.
Thank you. So each year, as part of our contract with Weber County, we come before you to give a summation of the previous year, the year we're in, as well as present our marketing plan for the following year. So just like you just mentioned, this year's been kind of a difficult one to sum up, but I'm going to do my best, and we've taken it on kind of a month-by-month approach as we look through this. So as we move into this presentation, I just wanted to start with, we did have a couple of months in the beginning of 2020 when life was more normal as we knew it, and we started the year off very strong. We went into it, we have kind of a hiking metaphor this year, and we went into it with this specific peak in mind with the goals that we were going to work on to increase our leisure and group visitation, some destination development opportunities, as well as the creation of a tourism master plan focused on sustainability initiatives. We had mile markers in mind to keep us on the right trail. Ski season was already on a high note, and bookings were indicating a record-breaking year. The media coverage for our ski product was profuse and highlighted our amazing resorts and assets in a glowing fashion. We were short 2 members of our team that we knew we needed to complete this successful expedition. In February, we saw visitation continue to climb and secured some additional press coverage in amazing outlets like the New York Times. In March, we did see our team grow, finally, and we brought on 2 new members as we welcomed Colt Jarvis as our Director of Marketing and Communications, and we were fortunate enough to bring Lindsay Ketchum back after a brief hiatus as our Director of Sales. And then, as we all know, like a light switch going off, the world changed overnight. The ski resorts wound up closing early. It's estimated that the ski industry in the state of Utah lost $234 million in revenue due to the early closure. You can see from this graph here, this is visitation to our resorts, and in those days immediately preceding that shutdown, we were at our highest visitation levels of the year. We had just a couple of weeks left in our winter marketing campaign, but obviously brought it to a quick halt. At the end of the campaign, we saw bookings of about $555,000 in revenue for hotel bookings directly from our ad-exposed consumers. We also saw a 53% lift across positive responses on how our Lift Study survey respondents would rate the Ogden area in terms of a place to visit for a ski vacation. We saw strong performance across some of our traditional markets, but also a lot of growth in emerging markets like Dallas. This was our creative from last year. We placed ads individually for Snow Basin and Powder Mountain, and then collectively as our urban après-ski downtown. We quickly began to pivot, stopping all of our marketing campaigns and sales efforts, and instead became a community resource for the latest information, governor recommendations, and travel sanctions. As the crisis wore on and it became apparent it wasn't going to end anytime soon, we began providing training, support services, and grant information for the industry to try to help our hospitality partners weather this storm. We all quickly learned that everything we thought we knew about our industry and our markets was no longer relevant or valid. We watched month over month as the number of the U.S. population that traveled decreased, then started to climb again as case counts decreased, then plateaued and have started to decrease again now as the case counts have increased. We've been constantly monitoring industry trends, patterns, and behaviors, and have been following a number of industry partners as they survey travelers or potential travelers on a weekly basis to gauge their confidence levels in travel. You can see here this question is, I'm planning to avoid all travel until the coronavirus situation blows over. The blue line is agree and the gray line is disagree. You can see how far apart those two sentiments were in the beginning of this crisis, how we came a little closer together as things got a little more calm over the summer and have started to spread apart again. We've also taken a look at, as we go into ski especially, flight markets, our traditional visitors in the winter time. This graph shows airline travel from March through October, with the orange line being 2019 and the blue line 2020. You can see how airline travel, even though coming back a little bit, is still far off its 2019 marks. However, we did celebrate the opening of the Salt Lake International Airport, with Phase 1 being complete last month, which should help us pretty significantly as a state as we move forward. And as plane travel decreases and road trips become a replacement for airline travel, we eventually saw the results of this as well, with 1 in 5 American travelers reporting taking a staycation this summer, with 57% of those saying that that was due to COVID concerns. We quickly created new content to ensure the community and our partners knew where to find the information they needed. So we began with information and links for local resources. Within a week, we had our Support Ogden Dining page up to encourage the community to still support our local restaurants. We had 28,000 people scroll the entire depth of the page and 11,000 outbound clicks to our partner websites. We supported the Ogden Downtown Alliance in the Support Ogden Dining Fund for impacted workers, distributing thousands of dollars to this industry. The following week, we launched the Support Local and Support Ogden Arts pages to try to help support local artists and retail outlets struggling with their regular means of attracting customers. And then as CARES grants information became available, we provided links, resources, and lots of one-on-one support for our partners as they worked through these applications, starting with the PPP and EIDL loans from the federal government, then state PPE, ComRent, Shop in Utah, and Create in Utah grants from the state, and then of course our local Ogden CARES and Weber CARES opportunities. Recognizing that this was potentially a good time for education due to the unfortunate circumstances surrounding closures, layoffs, and obviously the need to recover more quickly once we could, we worked with our partner 26 Digital to present 3 free webinars for our community: social communication tips during the COVID-19 crisis, do's and don'ts of successful content marketing, and leveraging organic and paid promotion tools. We had approximately 150 participants participate in these webinars live, but also posted them to all of our channels and on our website so people could watch them at any time. We sent more than 30 community partner e-newsletters and created a Visit Ogden Partner Facebook page to help share the necessary information to our partners. And then as it eventually became time to try to shed a little light and motivation, we picked up our social channels again, sharing stay-at-home messaging while keeping the Ogden area top of mind for visitors and to create some pride in place and motivation for our residents. Our videos always get some pretty great engagement, so we also told that same message via this platform. Let's see if we have sound.
Music on yours, sir?
Yeah, and voiceover. But we'll skip past it for now. I'll send it to you. I also want to acknowledge that, you know, we all went through these terrible times as well, and this is when our team took a budget cut and furloughed the majority of our team. I think one of the reasons we all love working together in this community is because of the collaboration that takes place between so many organizations, but obviously when you have a crisis at hand, that collaboration becomes even more important. And working with these community partners was definitely vital to the success of how we continue to move forward during this time. We were able to collaborate weekly with our partners at Weber County Culture Parks and Rec, the Goal Foundation, Ogden Arts Culture and Events, the Ogden Downtown Alliance, and Weber State, and then set up another weekly meeting with this group in the health department to work through various event scenarios and community questions that were coming our way. I also participated in a weekly Utah Office of Tourism Marketing Committee meeting to ensure that I understood in the most comprehensive way the state's plans on how they were going to market. The Utah Association of Destination Marketing Organizations also held a weekly call so we could provide support and best practices for one another. And then during this time, I also assumed president of the board responsibilities for the Utah Tourism Industry Association, so therefore conducted a number of meetings and conversations for tourism industry partners around the state. June saw our visitor sentiment begin to start to return. We needed to print some new information packets, but with future budgets uncertain, we were worried about absorbing this expense. This was also the time that there was some controversy surrounding Amazon and paper and packages potentially being contaminated. So we adapted and created some new digital information packets. This means of communicating with our potential visitors expanded our email database as well as created a more sustainable approach to our traditional information requests. Based on industry insights and resulting traveler sentiment, we did launch our summer campaign in June. The state had revamped the co-op guidelines, which allowed for a 15% spend of our co-op dollars to be in state. So we targeted the Wasatch Front first and then added southern Utah and other regional drive markets as conditions allowed. This campaign launch necessitated acquiring new assets to be sensitive to our current environment. Photos focusing on our wide open spaces and outdoor recreation, as well as encouraging business to our local restaurants. We acquired some new photography with masks and also without, so that we will have the imagery for both COVID and evergreen content. To help overcome budget shortfalls, we, like everyone, applied for as many grants as we had the opportunity to do so. 501c6 organizations like Visit Ogden are not eligible for the PPP, but we did secure $8,000 from the forgivable portion of the EIDL loans. Then when the state launched their grants, we were able to secure some PPE monies, 2 months rent from the ComRent grant, and $50,000 from the Shop in Utah grant. We utilized the Shop in Utah grant for an Ogden Restaurant Week promotion, turning it into a month-long event this last November, allowing patrons to purchase a $20 gift card for $10. Visit Ogden will then redeem the full $20 to our restaurant so that they can see some revenue this month. The desire to get out and recreate, as Commissioner Frower mentioned as we moved into this, led to overcrowding at a number of our recreation outlets, Pineview being one of the primary ones. There was a decrease in our out-of-area visitors, but due to the increase in local visitors, Pineview experienced a more than 20% increase in total visitation. This resulted in crowded roadways and an excess of garbage being left behind. To try to help mitigate some of these negative consequences, we ran our first campaign, geofencing Pineview, and serving ads only to people at the reservoir, encouraging them to pack it in and pack it out. We also worked with all of you to find other solutions, which I know you have implemented and are also continuing to work on implementing. We applied for the Utah Office of Tourism Co-op in early June amidst incredible ambiguity about what the future may hold. Instead of our typical 3 campaigns, meeting, ski, and summer, we combined our ski and summer campaign into a year-round leisure campaign so that in the event we were unable to market to ski travelers this winter, we could push the funds into a later date when timing would be more appropriate. In August, we were awarded 100% of our request, nearly $230,000 from the state. $46,500 of that came from matching dollars from our community, from the county, the ski resorts, and the Ogden Downtown Alliance. So we thank you for your support. The media had been dominated by the pandemic, civil unrest, and the upcoming presidential election, but we did receive some great coverage despite all of this other noise, including a feature in Travel and Leisure as one of the best places to visit in September, and Reader's Digest as one of 12 small towns with beautiful architecture. In December of last year, we had secured a $20,000 grant from the Utah Office of Tourism to create a tourism master plan. This work began in August with the brainstorming and visioning process with the facilitator from the Coraggio Group, Weber County Culture Parks and Rec, my team, the Ogden Downtown Alliance, Ogden City, and our ski resorts sitting in on that stakeholder group. The sales team, although still furloughed with limited hours, began a campaign through our sales platform targeting 100 meeting planners each month regarding how our community could help them meet safely and responsibly. We continued to try to take advantage of grant opportunities and secured $182,000 from the Ogden Cares Grant for payroll and rent, allowing us to bring our entire team back full-time. We also worked with Visit Salt Lake and the Utah Office of Tourism to create the Meet in Utah grant, which we were allocated almost $113,000 to incentivize meeting planners to book in our convention center and downtown hotels before the end of the year. We launched our meetings campaign, which just started a couple of months ago and has been seeing some great success, but it's definitely been a learning experience as we try to learn how to communicate with meeting planners in this new environment. What we're finding is that some of our unique attractions are what gauge their interest, and then their primary concern is the investment or dollars that it will cost them to host a meeting here, and then what we're doing to ensure their safety. But like in leisure, we needed to secure additional assets for photography and video showing masks, appropriate social distancing, etc. We also typically launch our ski campaign or winter campaign on October 1st, but due to the uncertainty that still existed, we chose instead to introduce a fall campaign, utilizing some of our most successful metrics from summer and focusing on our Utah markets. This fall campaign actually performed better than any of our other campaigns we've run with regards to post-impression rate. Our social media presence continues to grow as we've engaged new followers throughout. And as we looked at community support, as if pandemics and earthquakes weren't enough, in early September, the community experienced a ferocious windstorm, knocking out power for days and uprooting many trees. So Ogden City had instigated a cleanup of the parks after days of trying to get neighborhoods cleaned up and asked for some support. We took on 2 parks with other volunteers to support their effort. We also worked with the Forest Service over the summer as we were experiencing that increased use and scheduled a cleanup day for after Labor Day. We recruited approximately 70 volunteers from our partner organizations to support this cleanup around the entire reservoir, hauling away more than 500 pounds of trash. And it was apparent that we were all feeling the need to spruce up our community after the summer. In addition to these other cleanups, the Ogden Downtown Alliance produced an Ogden River Parkway cleanup in which we also participated. Over the summer, I also served on a live events task force assembled by the live events industry, an industry that employs more than 12 million people and contributes more than $1 trillion annually to the U.S. economy. 95% of live events have been canceled due to COVID, 96% of companies have cut staff or wages, and 77% of people in the live events industry have lost 100% of their income. So on September 1st, we joined with a coalition across the U.S. to light up our venues and homes in red. This occurred in more than 1,500 locations in North America to raise public and media awareness in support of the live events sector. As we moved through September, our summer campaign came to an end, and you can see from this chart our incredible post-impression rate and really strong local bookings from the Salt Lake market. This campaign can be attributed for more than 12.3 million impressions and more than 1,000 direct hotel bookings coming from the Salt Lake market. But then it was also followed closely by LA and San Francisco, more traditional visitation markets for us. The social elements of our campaign resulted in another 3.6 million impressions, and for the first time we engaged in a Pinterest campaign with some really great results. The cost per engagement was incredibly low and gave us some new customers. This is how we evaluate who is engaging with each platform. It shows us that our traditional markets did engage in Pinterest, like California and Portland, but I really wanted to show you more to show how we're evaluating each of the platforms and different markets we're in to see what's resonating, what's working, and what isn't, so that we can make adjustments on the fly and be most impactful with our dollars. And I'm proud of the work the marketing team continued to do to stay top of mind this summer. When comparing our summer 19 Google Analytics to summer 20, we saw a 36% increase in users, a 41% increase in new users, and a 33% increase in sessions. Our search engine marketing was the only part of our campaign that we never halted. We figured if someone was searching for us, we sure wanted them to find us. And we found that we fared better than other destinations who went completely dark. As mentioned earlier, we determined this was a good time to continue our education as well as provide it for our partners. So in addition to the entire team participating in numerous webinars, Tiffany fulfilled a longtime goal of becoming certified with her Certified Government Meeting Planner accreditation, and I renewed my Certified Destination Management Executive certification through Destinations International. The marketing team also took time to follow new social media trends, or I should say popular social media trends at the time, with TikTok being on the rise during COVID, and started a new TikTok channel, which gave us ridiculous engagement and made me feel really old because I don't even know how to watch what we're doing. But we found that when we post these videos on our other platforms, they generate a ton of engagement. Lindsay and Karen also attended our first in-person trade show in October and met with, since the pandemic began, they met with 63 meeting planners over a 3-day period. They were able to narrow this down and only meet with planners that plan specifically in the Western U.S. and hold meetings that match our capabilities as far as space and accommodations. Planners demonstrated an interest in trying something different and indicated that they are looking for smaller, non-Tier 1 destinations for these coming years and were very interested in our community. As we follow up with each one of them after the show, we are finding that their confidence in booking their dates is still incredibly low, but we're working to fill the pipeline for future years. They have an aggressive goal of bringing a number of them out for site inspections or board meetings to show them our destination as soon as we're able. We were thankful for the opportunity to apply for another grant through Weber Cares to promote our meetings and conventions industry, receiving $70,000 from that grant. And then in November, after delaying our winter campaign launch a number of times, we did finally launch at the beginning of the month. We've retooled our target markets to be more regional drive markets, but we'll continue to work with our ski resorts and Ski Utah to gauge flight interest in other emerging markets. We're communicating the ski resorts' updated operating policies and procedures, as well as working with Weber County Search and Rescue to figure out ways that we can try to mitigate the potential but unfortunately anticipated backcountry problems we may experience this winter as more and more people try to take advantage of wide open spaces. And then just in a summation, as we look back at the year and the tourism taxes generated, this transient room tax, remember that these are collected 2 months post-consumption. So that big decrease you see in June is for consumption in April. October's collections for consumption in August actually exceeded last year's collections, but the difference in September, or what will have now been reported in November, are greater due to the loss of TCG, Xterra, and some other meetings we had on the books. But October, or what will be collected in December, are closer to last year. We're down about 13% in transient room tax collection year over year. With our restaurant taxes, we've remained fairly stable, though there has been a dramatic shift to collections primarily from fast food and those locations with drive-through. We are down about 3% year over year in restaurant tax collections. Our leased vehicle taxes remain the most impacted tourism tax, obviously, due to the increase in drive market traffic, but fortunately this counts for a very small total in our overall TRCC collections.
So Sarah, you said restaurant we're down 3%?
3. So our restaurant tax is only down 3%, but when you talk to our restaurants, the challenge that we have is supporting our locally owned businesses. That increase, or The stability has come in an increase in traffic to drive-through and fast food primarily. So a lot of our local restaurants are being
You just answered
challenged.
the question I was going to ask. There seems to be a shift in the restaurant itself, and some of these that just can't provide drive it up.
Yeah.
They're really taking
And
it.
curbside definitely helped. All of our local restaurants, I shouldn't say all, but most of our local restaurants. But when you talk to them, it's just created another added level of complexity to what they're
Sure.
trying to do. And so, like when
really
we were
hard.
looking at Restaurant Week, for example, we got a lot of questions about why aren't you doing it the way you always do it, with the special menus and the three-course dinners or whatever it is. And it's because the restaurants just said we simply can't facilitate the limited number we have in-house, but trying to keep people employed, all the curbside, and do special menus, and especially because they're at a discounted price.
For these restaurants are doing much more takeout and curbside, it appears that the cook and the kitchen employees are doing just fine. The waitresses and those in the dining hall, they're still laid off.
Well, and I think actually if you talk to the restaurants, a lot of them have also laid off a lot of kitchen staff just because the turnover isn't the same. And that's been one of the things that they've talked about too. It's really hard to gauge, because they would go, and this is all just anecdotal information I've heard from restaurant owners, but they would go from no orders on a Wednesday night to twice their volume on a Friday night, and nobody knows what's coming, so they don't know how to staff up appropriately for it, and those different things. So it's definitely been a learning experience for
And
everyone.
I realize here this is survival for them, and so I can see where the restaurants, many of them are going to survive, but boy, it sure isn't helping their employees.
No, the industry as a whole has been dramatically impacted, and if you look at the
Not
whole
just impacted, they're ended up being changed.
Yeah.
And you assume this is going to come back because a lot of people like to go out to dine. That's part of an evening out, but you're not sure.
Well, and now that we're entering colder temperatures and, the opportunity to
Yeah.
dine outside isn't as prevalent,
Yeah.
that has changed things once again for them as they
All
try
right.
to figure out how to work through this.
Sorry to
So-
interrupt you.
No, I appreciate the question. So going back to, I wanted to show you some of our just stats regarding ways that we're measuring how, what the tourism industry is doing in our community. This chart shows you occupancy. So these numbers are now reflected for the month in which they were consumed because they're not the taxes. So the graph listed as occupancy on the left is for our hotels, and the one on the right is for short-term rentals. But I do want to note that the numbers reflected here are for Airbnb only. We collect Vrbo data now, but we don't have year-over-year data for them. So in an effort to show the year-over-year impact, we just showed Airbnb, but they're pretty similar. So, and I want to point out too that just to take note of the Y coordinate because they're not on the same scale. So you'll notice that our short-term rental properties experienced a pretty dramatic rebound over the course of the summer, where our hotels are still struggling to keep.
Sarah, about how many short-term rentals are in your graph there? Total, you know what the number was that you were able to
I
get?
can tell you exactly, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Thanks.
So I'll let you know. Average daily rate is another tool that we look at. You can see here that it reflects a similar scenario as occupancy, though not quite as dramatic. Our industry experts are predicting that we will see occupancies rebound to 2019 levels in 2022, but that rate won't return until 2023 or later.
Sarah, could you go back one slide?
Yes.
So you're telling me that in short-term rentals,
We saw.
even though it was steeper, the decline, the recovery has been substantially higher.
Yes. So then if you look at their rate, you'll see that it hasn't grown as dramatically, but it is up over last year. So, but one of the things we're starting to hear now, just so everyone knows, as we looked forward to winter season, it was following similar trends. Our short-term rentals were looking full. We were booked out for the holidays specifically, but primarily the month of December. And our hotels downtown weren't as full, but now we're starting to hear that cancellations are rolling in pretty quickly. I think the time frame for those cancellations, combined with case counts, and I told you all this morning, do your snow dance. I think if we get some good snow in, hopefully that will help mitigate and increase people's desire to come check it out. But
So there seems to be a desire, or not a desire, people who travel seem to feel safer in short-term rental.
less shared spaces.
Yeah, exactly.
And part of it too is looking at who the market is, right? Like typically, if you take our downtown hotels, for example, they are traditionally, I mean, yes, you get some skiers who stay at the Courtyard or the HDI or wherever, but primarily it's our business and convention traveler who's staying in our downtown hotels. And since we don't have much business travel and our convention business has been so decimated, they're feeling that impact. Our freeway properties have done great with all of the events going out on at the Golden Spike and the work Duncan's been able to do out there. And early in the summer, we're busy with truck traffic as well as snowbirds headed back home and different things. So we have to look at who traditionally is staying in each of these properties as well.
Thank you.
And then finally, the last slide we'll look at here is just revenue. The Vrbo, so this still just reflects Airbnb revenue, but Vrbo revenue is just about equal to Airbnb. So you can see from the representation in this graph that the hotels are still generating far more revenue than the short-term rentals, but that rebound that we were just talking about in the short-term rental market is far outpacing that of our hotels.
So these are so drastic. It's hard to understand as an average where we're coming from there. Are our short-term rentals, did you give us that already? You did. TRT taxes are down 13%, and that would be.
And that's
gauge of
both.
that.
That's all
Yeah.
of them combined.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a gauge. Okay.
So finally, as we get to look forward to 2021, you each got a digital version as well as a couple printed versions of this destination development plan that we started to work on and are now ready to begin implementing. In it, we've created a list of destination imperatives, including fostering Olympic readiness and preparation, activating dining, retail, and entertainment opportunities, activating our intra-valley and interstate transportation, monetizing outdoor recreation, supporting public infrastructure and sustainable growth initiatives, growing our accommodation product and conference center capacity, managing visitation and stewarding our destination, supporting placemaking through public arts, culture, and events, preserving stakeholder, industry, and resident support for tourism. And as you can see in the full document or on this slide here, each of these imperatives then has a number of objectives and actions associated with each one of them, all of which will be worked on over the next coming years. They are broken down into phases. So phase 1 is titled Align and Lift and will be accomplished in the next 3 years. And you can see the additional detail behind each of those imperatives there. And then in line with these destination imperatives are our Visit Ogden pillars of economic impact, community, placemaking, and advocacy. Because the destination imperatives are a bit higher level and some longer term, we've taken and distilled them down into our Visit Ogden pillars so that we can outline additional objectives that will require our attention and focus in 2021. Under economic impact, we have both the leisure and group markets. Community is both the business community and our residents. Placemaking is mostly coordinating with other organizations and governmental entities. And advocacy also helps us gain support for our industry through our community legislators and our local elected officials. So I just want to sum it up by saying, we're all too well aware of the challenges that still lie ahead of us, but now more than ever, I think just buoyed and so grateful to be in this community that we live in. We knew that, we couldn't stop, we couldn't turn back, that we had to find these new trails and keep our eyes on that peak. We feel like everyone else that we've crossed a lot of canyons and climbed over boulders and scaled some cliffs, but we've joined our partner organizations in this, and in the process, definitely gained an even higher level of trust and admiration for the work that they all do. We've watched our businesses and individuals in this community accept the challenge and innovate and provide financial support to those when they can. And I want to thank the Visit Ogden team for their leadership, resiliency, and willingness to not only help our organization survive this pandemic and climb these peaks, but through furloughs and much uncertainty, continue to support our community and industry by constantly pivoting and providing the best possible services and support they can. So while we continue to experience more than our fair share of obstacles and challenges as a world, I see these acts of kindness in our community every day that give me a lot of hope and support, and know that we can accomplish amazing things together. So as a team, we are ready and willing to keep climbing and know that we'll reach those peaks. And with that, I present to you our annual report for 2020 and our destination development plan for 2021 for your approval.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. Great presentation. Questions or comments, commissioners?
May I? Well, you just keep outdoing yourself. Boy, that was a wonderful presentation. Great information, good solid information, but just the professionalism by which it was presented was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me take so much time. I apologize to Duncan before we started.
Good for you. Okay, go ahead.
My only comment here is the fact that these are trying times, and these numbers show it, and we just gotta keep pushing. I'm just not sure where this is all taking us, and of course I don't think I'm alone there. Nobody really knows. We hope that things will get back to what we view as normal, but I'm not sure what we view as normal will ever be the norm again.
Well, and I think it's like Commissioner Frower said in his thought of the day is, we're all trying to find the silver linings or the ways, and there have been ways we've improved the work that the conference center has done to integrate, digital means of hosting virtual. And then I think what we'll see with meetings is that there will always be a hybrid expectation from now on, like you said, with business travel. I mean, people, I think, want to be together and want to congregate and be face-to-face, but at the same time, if they can't be, there will be an expectation that they can still tap into the meetings or the educational components. So facilitating and making sure we're navigating all of those changes and working together to provide scenarios like that will help us improve our product overall for the long term.
Very good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sarah, I'd just say, congratulations, great presentation, good marketing plan. I think your assignment when we hit this COVID back in March totally changed from what you thought this year would be, just like a lot of us.
Without a doubt.
And I think, you've done a great job of adapting, making sure that you have stayed within the guidelines of the CDC and the health department, and made the best of what we had to work with. So congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
With that, anything else, Sarah?
Nope, that's it.
With that, commissioners, I would entertain a motion for approval of the Visit Ogden's 2021 marketing plan.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, let's go to action item G2, request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County approving the Ramp Tax Advisory Board. Miss Shelley Hallisey, you with us?
I am here, Commissioners. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Go ahead. This would be Resolution 42, by the way.
Yeah, this is just a little bit of housekeeping. We came before you about a month ago to appoint some new members to the board, and we need to move some from the committees up into the advisory board. So we're requesting your approval to move Kobe Bockwalt and Stephen Shoup up into the advisory board. They'll be in charge of not only what the committee members do for recreation and parks and arts and museums, but also for the major grants. So with that, we request your approval for this resolution.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Hallisey? Commissioners?
Nope.
On the advisory board.
No, familiar with those two. They'd be great candidates.
I-
So I like Ms. Hallisey's recommendation and would motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
So
Motion
roll
carries.
call.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Oh, sorry, roll call.
Commissioner Jenkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey,
Aye.
Chair Farrar.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, let's go to action item G3, request for approval of the first reading of an ordinance to update the published rates for the use of theater facilities, services, and equipment for the Perry's Egyptian Theater. Mr. Ross Reeder. Welcome, Ross.
Thank you. Commissioners, this is my second attempt at a first reading, apparently, so. The Pierce Egyptian Theater recently, as you all know, has received some monies to upgrade our lighting system. And also, we've changed our ticketing system to Sapphire. With that, we have revised our published rates to include some lighting packages. In the past, we basically just had the labor charges for changing the lights, which was significant, and these lighting packages will be much easier. And also the Sapphire ticketing charges, which we charge mostly the patron purchasing the ticket. It's not charged to the client itself. So we're submitting this for your first reading.
Okay, questions for Mr. Reeder?
Mr. Reeder, could you take just a brief moment and discuss how this relates to other theaters, up, down, equal to, can you just quickly?
Well, we're fortunate enough to have this new lighting system. I think probably the closest thing to us would be the Browning Theater up in Weber State. Others rely on older systems, so as far as that goes, I think we're unique in that situation. As far as our published rates, we fall right in line with about the size of a theater that we are with other theaters of close size.
Very good. No other questions, Mr. Chair?
Okay, I'd entertain a motion then.
Motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance to update the published rates at Perry's Egyptian Theater.
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Mr. Reeder.
You're welcome.
Let's go to G4, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the Weber School District for the 2021 Mesa Day event to be held at the Golden Spike Event Center. Mr. Duncan Olson.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So the next three contracts are all kind of the same. It's just the school district rate for the Mesa Day, the Math Science Olympiad, and the STEM Fair. They're going to come in and use our buildings to host these events for the kids. We've got enough room that they can spread out and do it safely. So this first one is for Mesa Day.
Okay, so the first one we'll take a vote on would be the Mesa Day event, correct?
Yep.
Questions, commissioners?
No, these are great things, and I'm glad to know that we can still participate with those people in school. It gives them an opportunity to compete other than sports in scholastic-type activities. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I'd make the motion that we approve the Mesa Day event, and quite frankly, to expedite the agenda, I'd make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we approve items 4, 5, and 6, in as much as they're all just different parts of the school, but programs, but we approve all three, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, just different age groups, different classifications.
I'd second that.
I appreciate that. That expedite, looks like it's all the same school district, so I
Yeah.
think that's a fair motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. So items G4, 5, and 6 are now approved. Thank you. Let's go now to G7, a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Ogden Pioneer Heritage Foundation for the 2021 Miss Rodeo Ogden competition to be held at the Golden Spike Event Center. Mr. Olson, you're back up.
Yeah, so this is a contract between us and the Pioneer Heritage Foundation. We've done this for about as long as I can remember. I'm not sure if Commissioner Harvey has an exact year, but it's really a sponsorship trade for some arena time to host their competition. It usually takes a couple hours on a weekday, and they knock it out, and we get some recognition for that.
Questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
It's your portfolio.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we approve this contract by and between Weber County and Ogden City Pioneer Heritage Foundation. Since the foundation's newer, but the competition at our facility's 1988, just in case people are keeping track. So there's
So is this the writing competition we're talking about?
the
that they?
horsemanship, you know, where they do the sliding,
Yep.
reining.
Yep, perfect. Okay,
Second.
and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to 8, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Utah State University for the 2021 Spring Break Clinic to be held at the Golden Spike Event Center. Mr. Olson?
And this one should say the 4-H. It is the 4-H extension, so
This
it's
is the
not
4-H.
Utah State University. It's just the 4-H extension. But it is just a horse clinic that they've done the last several years, and so it is just the discounted 4-H youth rate.
Okay, questions or comments or action?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve the 4-H Spring Break Clinic at the Golden Spike Event Center.
Second.
Thank you, and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Olson. Let's go to G9, request for approval of a $16,509.31 donation of Prop 1 funds to Trails Foundation of Northern Utah for trail crossing signage on Highway 158 and North Ogden Divide. Mr. Sean Wilkinson, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Trails Foundation of Northern Utah is requesting the donation you just mentioned. There are 2 areas on the North Ogden Divide, one at the Bonneville Shoreline Trailhead and one at the Ben Lomond Skyline Trailhead, and 2 areas on Highway 158, the Skyline Trailhead near Windsurfer Beach and the North Arm Trailhead. So these will be solar-powered flashing lights that will warn motorists and help pedestrians cross the road in those areas near those trailheads. We'll also install warning signs in front of those, on either side of those solar panel signs so that motorists are aware that they're approaching an area where people will be crossing.
And will there be crossing signage on the highway itself, paint?
There will not be paint, and that's due to UDOT. They don't want paint on Highway 158.
Okay.
And Trails Foundation of Northern Utah has coordinated that. They've talked to me about that. There was a request from the commission that everything be done the same. Now, the cars don't actually have to stop.
Right.
So that's the difference. We're not actually painting a crosswalk where cars would stop and
Highway
have that.
158, which one's that?
Just on the west side of Pineview.
This is over by just south of the yacht club, where
Yep,
I'm assuming
exactly.
that's where the trail that goes up the skyline.
Correct. And then the North Arm Trailhead, just before you hit the Y.
You hadn't presented this to us, so I'm not familiar with 158.
Oh, okay.
Or where
Okay.
this is at, but I know where you're talking about right now.
Yeah, very much needed, I think, at both of those locations. So.
Correct.
So this is a warning sign,
Yes.
flashing lights, and
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, just to help pedestrians cross and help motorists be safe. The work will be done by Trails Foundation of Northern Utah through a contractor, so this donation will accomplish that.
What's the time frame?
Time frame will probably be next year.
Next year.
Yes.
Okay, commissioners, comments, questions?
Glad to see this happen.
The question I have is, they're requesting a donation, but we're making them we're getting ready to give them $200,000.
So this is part of this year's $200,000.
This is this year's.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this is the
Well, then, if
seventh.
it's part of this year's, why are you here getting a request for it? Because we've already allocated it.
They have to come in for every request they make and present the bid and tell us exactly
Oh, do
what is
they?
going to happen. That's right.
Okay.
Just so we can make sure that the donation reflects what will actually take place.
Well, and also Weber County, so it's a return report. I like that. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, when we
I have an issue
when
with
we
that.
appropriated that money, part of the requirement was that they report to us on a project-by-project basis.
Correct.
Which I think is still a good idea. So, all right, other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Let's go to 10, request for approval of a contract between Weber County and the Scaleless Unlimited for installation of an above-ground scale at the Weber County Transfer Station. Okay?
Yes, Commissioners, you're aware we are installing a new scale at the transfer station. That will The work will begin very soon and finish in spring of next year. We've gone through a bid process. Scales Unlimited was awarded the contract. The new scale will cost $44,900. And then earlier this morning, you approved the software that will work with that scale. So everything is moving forward, and we are just requesting approval of this contract for that installation.
So did the old scale wear out, or what?
No, so this will be a second scale. We're going to
This is second.
put this at a second entrance where the large commercial trucks
Oh, okay.
will access. So this will actually create a much safer environment, and it will get people through faster at the transfer station.
Maybe speed things up a little bit?
Absolutely, yes.
You know, on weekends, when the traffic is really high, there's lots of times that the traffic goes out into the intersection, coming into it. And if a person will pull across there with their vehicle, not realizing how far the trailer they're pulling is sticking back out. And lots of times it prevents traffic from going east and west that's not even going into it. So it's kind of complicated, and I actually agreed with John's request here.
Yes.
I thought this was appropriate that we do something like this.
Yeah. Oh, makes sense. Okay, other questions, comments?
No, I think it's great. I appreciate going through the extra effort. I know when it was initially presented to us, it was 100 to 120,000, and I know that I've been sending scale bids and scale manufacturers to John Watson, and so this is a lot more down in line with what I've been seeing. So
Yes,
I appreciate the extra work.
absolutely.
That saves the county taxpayers. So I'm good with that. This is Commissioner Jenkins again.
Yes, I'd make a motion we approve the contract between Weaver County and Scales Unlimited for the new scale.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the contract,
Second?
and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Sean. Let's go to Commissioner comments.
I have none.
Commissioner Jenkins has none. Commissioner Harvey?
Nope.
We're going to be short then. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair?
We'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this public meeting and go to a closed meeting to discuss pending or imminent litigation.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second.
Commissioner Jenkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey,
Aye.
Chair Farrar.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll go to a closed session and report back after that closed session.